If not for Mayfield, my quality of life wouldn't be as good as it is today. The car hit me so hard that it pushed me into the car in front of me, and then the car behind me was hit. And so, like, in a matter of 3 or 4 seconds, I got hit 3 times and had a triple whiplash. I never knew how heavy your head was until you have a triple whiplash. And then over time, quite frankly, my neck got so horribly worse.
She had been involved in a motor vehicle accident in 2014, had sought care at a few very prestigious organizations, and really was not getting the help that she needed. She ended up seeing myself in physical therapy in 2015, I believe, and that was the first time that we had talked with her about her having the syrinx.
When I got diagnosed with syringohydromyelia, not only could I not spell it, I didn't know anything about it.
A syrinx is a fluid-filled sac that is in the middle of the spinal column, and hers was in the middle of her cervical area, which is in her neck.
In sequential MRI scans, when we followed this over the last few years, it is changing a little bit. It's getting a little bit larger.
And what she was experiencing was way beyond what we would expect from a typical syrinx.
So it really led Mayfield to say there has to be something else mechanically wrong that we had yet to find out. And through 2022, we learned that there are 2 other things wrong with me, and I am so grateful for their curiosity. Prior to finding Mayfield, the pain was so excruciating. 85% of the time, I was in level 9, level 10 pain. And then I learned that you can actually vomit when you have pain that high.
Things were not getting better, and things were just escalating. A friend of mine works for a very eminent MRI company, and she said, yeah, I think you need to put her in a machine that moves to see what's happening when she's actually getting movement of her spine. They had one in Naples, Florida, and Laura, being Laura, was willing to do anything she could do to get better and said, sign me up, when can we go?
So because of the mobility we saw in Laura's cervical spine, we ultimately recommended a procedure called an anterior cervical discectomy infusion, or ACDF.
There was a tear in the annular ligaments, which are the ligaments that kind of surround the disc. And so the discs were free-floating per se.
What we do is we remove the disc, so we're decompressing the nerves on either side as they come through those tunnels. And then when we're done with all that decompression, there's a small spacer that gets placed into the disc space, which makes more room for the nerve. When we're done with that, we then place a small plate on the front of the spine that holds it together and creates one big bone, and it fuses the bones together.
And she did really well for about 1 year and 7-8 months.
And then it was time to go back to work. The frequency of the pain started increasing. And so this led to a 3rd diagnosis, something called Crown-Dens, which is even rarer than the first syringohydromyelia.
The Crown-Dens syndrome typically is deposition of crystals or bone spurs that we see at the articulation or the junction of the 1st and 2nd cervical vertebra.
Anytime I bend my head forward, backward, or left or right, which you won't see me do, because then the bones rub. And that, in fact, is what is causing the mind-numbing upper neck, lower skull pain. There is a similar surgery to what Dr. DiNapoli did, where they would fuse my skull to C1. That would prevent me from being able to look down ever again. And honestly, my hope is that medicine will advance in a way that there's progress made on a way to actually fix my situation without such an invasive, risky, and life-altering, quite frankly, surgery.
Lesson learned from someone like Laura Guggenheim is that the need is there to develop these programs and make them bigger, and to be able to provide the research base to take care of the more complex patient.
My vision for the Institute here at Mayfield was really to create an institute independently here at Mayfield with collaboration with our healthcare partners to provide a world-class organization for not just Cincinnati, but the region.
We would like to be involved in changing the horizons, and it will require resources to do this.
I am not healed, and I don't know if I ever will be. What I do know is that I have the very best ability to be better due to Mayfield Brain and Spine.
We know that we can always be better, that we can always take it to the next level. And that's what our commitment is.